Today we're going to turn this studio portrait into a Hong Kong cinema-inspired scene using AI-based retouching and generative AI in Photoshop's new beta version. So let's get to it. Hey everyone, it's Mike from Lifestyle Boudoir. I know it's been a few weeks since my last video, but I hope this tutorial makes up for it. First, a little backstory. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you know I teach and do monthly photo sessions for Cinema Makeup School's Advanced Beauty Theory class in Los Angeles. For last month's class, the theme I gave the artists was Asian cinema. It forced not only the students to do their research, but me too. I ended up totally inspired by the films of Wong Kar Wai. And now I'm obsessed. I love his films. Now, if you remember my video on inspiration, you can totally get inspired for your photography by movies and especially the stories and cinematography in films. My top 3 of Wong's films in no particular order are Chungking Express, Fallen Angels, and his masterpiece In the Mood for Love. Wong uses color to set the mood and as a storytelling tool. In some ways, I feel the cinematography is almost like another character in the film. He also uses wide-angle lenses and sometimes uncomfortably close to the actors' faces, putting you right in the middle of the story. Sometimes the colors are muted, like these in Chungking Express, a quirky story starring Faye Wong and P.S. She's adorable. Or the strong and unified colors for the story of infidelity and romance in the beautifully shot In the Mood for Love. This film is gorgeous. Or the greens, yellows, and reds in the sexy contract killer story of Fallen Angels. The jukebox scene in Fallen Angels has to be one of my all-time favorite stories. And if you watch it, I think you'll see why. If you can make the time, I do suggest watching these films, if for nothing else, their aesthetic value. But honestly, you'll get sucked into the stories too. Okay, now let's get to the project. First, I'll need to process the raw files from the session. Some may argue that Lightroom is easier to use, and I agree with that for most purposes. But I use Capture One for my Fujifilm raw files, because the Fuji files look so much better than when I was using Lightroom. It's not that you can't get good files from Lightroom, of course you can. It just takes a few more steps to do it. Anyway, let's go to Capture One. Okay, so what you're seeing here is the photo that I chose to use for this demonstration. But I also have a few other photos here that you can see that were also candidates for this, but you know this is the one that I chose. Originally, these photos were created for Cinema Makeup School's Advanced Beauty Theory class, where I teach lighting, and then from the demonstrations that I do, I produce 1940s old Hollywood style glamour portraits. So you can see the lighting here is pretty contrasty, and it was literally created just for black and white photos. But what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go through some of this stuff. First, the lighting. So what you see here, the main light that's on her face is a Westcott ice light with barn doors. This background light is also a Westcott ice light with barn doors. And the hair light that you see here is a Nanlite Pavo tube. It's the small one, the 6-inch version, and it has the grid on it, so it's just confined to this area. Now let's talk about the camera. So first, the lens. The lens was the Fujifilm 56 1.2. It's basically their portrait lens. It's an equivalent to an 85mm in full frame. The camera was the Fuji X-T4, and my settings were ISO 640, shutter speed 1/125th of a second, and the aperture was 2.8. You can see that the photograph is pretty contrasty, but I did use the high dynamic range setting on the camera. But what we're gonna do for retouching purposes is reduce the contrast to about there. We're gonna raise the shadows and raise the blacks a little bit to create a pretty flat image. Now that I have that flat image, I'm just gonna copy the settings by clicking the copy button. And then I'm gonna select all the photos and I'm gonna hit apply. And what that did, if you can see, is apply the same settings that I did on this photo to all the photos. So now I have all these flat images. What I'm going to do next then is export. And I'm going to export at the highest quality JPEG. You could do TIFFs, you can choose a TIFF 16-bit, whatever you choose. But I'm going to do high JPEGs just for this tutorial. It's going to a folder called HK Claire. The girl's name is Claire. And for this demo, I created a folder called Demo. They're all selected, so I'm going to export the 4 images, and it's going to export them. It just takes a few seconds. And that's done. Now that we've exported from Capture One, we're going to do most of the retouching very quickly using AI with Evoto Ai. Unlike Photoshop, Evoto is not subscription-based software. With Photoshop, you pay monthly or yearly to use it, in perpetuity. Evoto is a credit-based software where you buy credits. You get 1,200 credits for under $85. 1,200! And the price per credit is lower the more you buy. So it costs about 7 cents to retouch and export each photo. The learning curve is ridiculously simple, plus the time it saves you is staggering. Oh, and you can keep altering and exporting the same photo over and over, but it only costs you 1 credit per file no matter how many times you export that image. Let's take a look at Evoto. Okay, now you can see the 4 photos are in the demo folder that I exported to. The next step is to open Evoto Ai. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down here and click Evoto, and it's going to open up Evoto. I'm going to create a new project. We're going to name it HK Claire, just like the folder, and save. So now what we have to do is navigate to, there they are, and we're just going to select all of them and hit open. And here's all our photos. Nowadays, I do all my preliminary retouching right in Evoto because it's fast, it saves me a lot of time, and of course, time is money. I'm not going to do a full tutorial on Evoto, but if you want me to, let me know in the comments, and I will go ahead and create a new tutorial that shows all the features of Evoto. But for now, I just want to get through this and show you how to retouch a photo. What I'm going to do is just shut that down, and automatically it selects female. The AI recognizes it as a female, and I'm just going to go through these sliders to do all the retouching. Now, Claire doesn't have any freckles, but there's, a blemish or two, so I'm just going to bring this way up, and it just kind of solved that little problem right there. Then I'm going to just check this just for fun. That's face mole. If she had any moles, or larger blemishes, that would probably take care of that. Next, body blemishes. We're going to go all the way up with that. All right. Fixing oily face. There's a little shine on the nose. I don't want to take it all the way out, but I'm going to bring it up some, and it'll soften that just a little bit. We obviously still want dimension in the photos. Forehead wrinkles, she has none. Eye wrinkles, there's a little bit underneath. I'm gonna go ahead and bring that up, and you'll see, boom, it softened that up a little bit. Dark circles, there's not much there, but again, I'm gonna bring it up a little, and you'll see it takes care of that. Smile lines, I'm not gonna touch. I feel like when you do the smile, let me just show you. When you do the smile lines, it just flattens all that out and takes detail out of the face. So I'm just gonna bring that all the way back down and put those back. Neck wrinkles, she's got a few little lines on the neck, so I'm gonna go ahead and crank that up. And I took care of that. Double chin, she doesn't have any. No stretch marks. Now we're gonna shut that and go to skin retouching. So I'm just gonna do a little bit on the smooth face. Skin smoothing. And just to show you where we're at right now, I'm just gonna, so you can see it did a really nice job of smoothing out the skin. And for that 1940s style portrait that I was gonna do, it looks great. All right, unified body complexion. Now let me show you this. So body skin smoothing, I'm gonna put all the way up. She doesn't have much to smooth out there, but unified body complexion, what it's gonna do is match the chest and neck to the face. And it just kind of brightens that up to match the face. All right, close that, and we're gonna go facial reshape. Now, I'm not gonna do much, but I am gonna just kind of narrow the bottom jaw just a tiny bit. And let's see, the nose, we're just gonna go just a tiny bit down on the width of the nose. And let's see the eyes. So we're gonna enlarge the eyes just a tiny bit. The height, which brings the eyelid up just a little bit. And that's all I'm gonna do there. Next is teeth. We have none, so I'm not gonna do it. Eyes, I'm just gonna brighten up the whites of the eyes a little bit. It's just a tiny, tiny little bit. If you wanna see where we're at now, before, after, before, after. Now you can see it's got this Evoto watermark all over it. That goes away when you export it out of the program. All right, let's see what's next. We have makeup. Now, we can do some highlight and contour. Bump the highlights, bump the contour. We're not gonna touch the eye makeup brightness. Lip color, we'll go just a little bit. And then you have all these makeup settings if you wanna play with it. There's nude, chic, sweet. You can go through all of these, but I'm just not gonna do any of them. But what I do want to do is lighten up the iris of the eye. And the one way I found to do that is to just use the contact lenses. Click like that. Now you see, it's crazy, it's too much. But if I back it off a good bit, it just gently lightens up the iris. There we go. Eyelashes, she's got good lashes, but I'm gonna just pump it up. There we go. Lipstick, it's already red, but I'm gonna hit the red. It looks pretty good. Now you can change the lipstick to glossy or shimmer. You have all these. I like the original satin the best, so that's what we're gonna do. That's beautiful. As you can see, I'm gonna click this before and after. That's the before, that's the after, before, after. It's really beautiful. Now, if I wasn't explaining this and I was just doing it, it would take me maybe a minute and a half to do all this retouching. Now here comes the fun part. You see I have all these other photos down here. All I have to do is click Save Preset. I'm gonna put it in a group I already named Claire. We're gonna name it Claire 2, because I already did a run through on this, and so there's a Claire 1. So I'm gonna just hit save, and now it's saved the preset. The presets are over here. I can open up Claire, you see, oh, I have Claire Retouch and I have Claire 2. So Claire 2 is the one I just created. All I have to do is select all of these and go sync and save. Boom. All of them are retouched. Okay, so if you have a bunch of photos to retouch, this is one way to do it all very quickly, and it applied all the settings that I used on the original photo. So now, I'm only going to export this one because this is the one I'm going to use. I click Export, and it's going to create a new folder with the export in it. Click Export. And then I can just close this down. and you can see HK Claire Evoto. And so there's my retouched photo. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is bring this into Photoshop and clean up all the stray hairs that are here and here along the jawline. And then I'm going to go ahead and replace the background and do the Wong Kar Wai color adjustments. Psst. If you're enjoying this or any of my videos, why not like and subscribe? Okay, back to the video. Now, before we can finish retouching the model and paste her into the setting, we actually have to create that setting. I wanted a Hong Kong alleyway like the one you see here for In the Mood for Love. So let's find our alleyway. Now for the background. So this is a photo that I downloaded from a site called Upsplash. And here is the finished results after I used generative fill to extend the background and do a few other magical things to it. So first thing is let's go to Upsplash. So I'm going to type in what I'm looking for. Now I've already typed it in once before, so I'm going to go Hong Kong Alley Night, and here's the photo that I downloaded. And you can see you can download it for free, and I downloaded and saved it, and here it is. So my next thing obviously is to take this into Photoshop, but I have to take it into the new beta version of Photoshop so that I can then alter the background and extend it. So that's what we're going to do next. So I'm going to take these photos, the alley one and the finished photos, and I'm going to drag them into Photoshop Beta. And here is the finished one. I love this one. I'm going to use this one, but I want to show you how to create something like this. So we're going to start with the original alley photo. We're going to take the crop tool and we're going to extend this background a fair amount. That's pretty cool. I like that. Hit enter. So now all this white space is going to get filled with generative fill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my selection tool and I'm going to go just inside the line of the photo. And then I'm going to select inverse, which is Control-Shift-I or Command-Shift-I. And then I'm going to go generative fill. Click generate and watch the magic. Not happy with that. Not happy with that, although it's not that bad. Let's try again. Generate. Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, I can deal with that. But let's see what the others. That one, no, it looks like a cave. That's really messy over here. So that's not going to work, but I think I can deal with this one. And we're going to just flatten the layers here. And what I'm going to do is go select all, edit, transform, perspective. And I'm going to kind of just straighten that out a little bit and hit return. Okay, not bad. Deselect. And I want to put some graffiti on the wall over here like I had in this one. Let's see what generative fill does. So I'm going to put this, generative fill, and go Chinese graffiti. Generate. See what it does. Ooh, that's really ugly. That's kind of big. Maybe I can deal with this if I were to fade it out a lot. Let's try opacity. That's better. Okay, so let's maybe use a hue and saturation layer on that. So we're going to go hue, saturation. We're gonna clip it by clicking in between the layers, create a clipping mask, and now it's clipped only to this layer here. And then I can just bring the saturation down. Let's weather it, maybe make it a little bit on the yellower side. That's kind of cool. Okay, I can deal with that. Now in here, it's really gray and this is really brown. I guess I could fix that, but you know, I'm gonna be adding that color layer. All right, let's just do it anyway. All right, so I'm gonna bring this up and I'm going to do a hue saturation layer. Click on that, bring up the saturation, make it a little bit more on the yellow side. That's not bad, but it's not exactly what I wanted. I wanted more of this greenish color, so I'm gonna add another layer over top of it, solid color, and we're gonna go a little bit more on the yellow-green side, maybe just right about there. Click OK. I'm gonna change it to soft light, and then I'm going to clip it to the there, turn it down a little bit. It's not quite as brown as I wanted, so I'm going to double click on this and go about there. That's a little bit better, and bring that opacity up a little bit. All right, I can deal with that. So there's definitely too much in focus in this photo, and obviously I want my model to be, you know, in the forefront. I want her to be in focus and the background to be, well, in the background. So what I need to do is some trickery here to throw some of this out of focus. First thing, I want to kind of darken this up here. I'm going to just add a layer, use the gradient tool. I'm just going to bring down a gradient so it's darker up there. That's good. Let's just, okay, I like that. Flatten the layers, and now we're going to go ahead and do some defocusing. So we're going to go Filter, Blur Gallery, and we're going to go Field Blur. So Field Blur, wherever you drop a pin, that's where it's going to be out of focus. So I'm going to keep, I want Claire to be about here. So let's make that a little bit more out of focus. That's not bad. Back here, I want to be a lot more out of focus. So we're going to go about 32. And this is going to be fairly even with her. So I'm going to drop the defocus there, and this will be fairly even with her. So I'm going to drop the defocus there. So now it has a lot more depth, more out of focus back here. I like that. Click OK. And now I have my background. Now it's time to add the finishing touches on the model in Photoshop. We'll fix all those stray hairs, get her placed into the environment, and add the color grading. Okay, now that we have our background, we need to finish retouching Claire. So I'm going to go into that Evoto folder of Claire, and I'm just going to drag that photo into Photoshop Beta. All right, there we go. So the things that I have to do in here is I have to actually put the top of her head back on, because the original photo cuts the top off, and then I have all the flyaways to deal with. So what I'm going to do first is the flyaways, and I'm going to do that with the remove tool. You can also use the spot healing brush for this. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the layer, and then using the remove tool, I'm just going to click on the flyaways, follow the line of the hair, and it does a really nice job of cleaning up those strays. All right, I don't want to bore you to tears with this, so at this point, I'm gonna just speed this up so you don't have to keep watching me delete hairs. So here we go. Okay, so I just want to clean up a little bit of stuff here. I'm going to go to the rubber stamp tool, also known as the clone tool. I have my flow at 10, my opacity at 100, and I'm just going to go a little bit larger with my brush, sample that, and just fade that in a little bit just to create a softer edge to that shadow. Same here, same here. That's nice. And same here. All right, I'm good with that. So another little trick that I want to show you is we're going to go Filter, Liquify. And the Liquify, I can just kind of, I'm using the top tool, the forward warp tool, and I'm just kind of reshaping the hair a little bit. So I get a cleaner line, and that's good. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and flatten the layers. Okay, so I said I need to extend the head a little bit because I've cut off the top of her head. So I'm going to go to the crop tool, and I'm just going to bring that up a little bit. And I'm going to bring her over to this side a little and hit return. What I need to do now is use the marquee tool, select just inside the original photo, and then select inverse. So now the white area and a little bit of the background of the original photo is selected. I'm just going to hit Generative Fill and just click Generate. Wait for the magic. All right, if this comes up, just type a period in there and click Generate, and it should work. There we go. And actually, that's really good. Very, very clean. So, next step, I'm gonna accept that. We're gonna flatten the layers, and we're gonna go Select Subject. And now I'm just gonna do New Layer with Layer Mask. Click OK. Did a not too bad a job. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna drag in the Hong Kong alley. So we're gonna go Select All, Copy, go back to the photo, Command V to paste it. The background's really big, so I have to shrink it down a little. Hit Return, and then drag it below there. Okay, so this is not bad at all. Just turn off and on. Now I'm gonna just rotate her a little bit. That's good. Hit Return. So now she's nice and sharp. The background is a little bit sharp here and here, and it's really soft in the middle. Now we pretty much have it. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna flatten the layers, layer, flatten image. Now we have a photo with the background And the next thing is to adjust the colors. I'm going to duplicate the layer. Now I have an action for all of this, and I think I'll show you the action first so you can see what it does. We're going to go Wong Kar Wai effect, and it's just going to do its magic, and it creates the Wong Kar Wai effect. You can open it up. You can make the color a little more subtle. And overall, that's pretty cool. But I want to show you how to do this from scratch. So I'm just going to get rid of this. We'll duplicate the layer. And we're going to go Filter, Camera Raw Filter. To do this, what we're going to do is we're going to lower the contrast of the image overall. We're going to bring up the highlights to about 25, the shadows to about 25, the whites to about 25, and we're going to lower the blacks to around 13. Next thing, we're going to bring up the vibrance to about 20. We're going to go to the curves. We're going to lower the shadows a little bit, bring up the blacks a tiny bit so it looks like a little bit more film-like. Maybe the shadows are a little too dark, and bring it up a little. And then we're going to increase the highlights. Then we're going to click on the green channel. Green channel, we're going to go up in the shadows and down in the highlights. We go to the blue channel, up in the shadows, down in the highlights. And that's pretty good. Then we're going to go down here and we're going to go to calibration. So for the calibration, I'm going to desaturate the greens, and I'm going to bring the reds a little more into the orange and the saturation up. That's pretty good. Then we're going to go back to the basics, lower the saturation a little bit overall, increase the vibrance a little bit more. I'm going to increase the contrast a little, and I'm going to bring the exposure down just a touch. Click OK. All right, so now I have my greenish tint. Then I'm going to bring in a curves layer. Do a little S curve there. Again, slightly bring up the blacks. And that's pretty good. Now I'm going to just group these two. Select both layers, hit Command G or Control G if you're on a PC. Name it. And return. And so there's the before color. There's the after color, and then it needs something. You know what it needs? It needs film grain. So let's create a stamp visible layer. So stamp visible layer is Shift Option Command E, and that creates a new layer with everything on it from below. I'm going to name that grain, and then we're going to go to Filter, Noise, Add Noise, and I have it at 12.5. That looks pretty good. It's a little bit grainy. I like it. Click OK, and we're almost there. So let's just try a little bit more with the curves. And that's good. And then we're going to flatten the layers and call it a day. So that's what it looks like with all the steps. Well, that's the finished image. If you made it this far, you're a trooper. I hope you learned something and enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Until the next time, take care. And cut.